Hey everybody, I'm just going to do a quick video to explain what the horizontal stack is, or also known as a horo. This is a Frisbee offensive strategy. Okay. Now, let's start before the pull. So before the pull, what's going to happen is that the offense is going to assign some roles. We're going to have 3 handlers in a horo, okay? And we're going to have 4 downfield people, okay? So the leader of the team is going to say, okay, you two are going to be handlers with me. And we're going to have Fred and George going to be the poppers. Okay, so these are the center people. And we're going to have Betty and Sue as the wings. All right. Okay, let's go down into formation. So what happens is that the defense throws the Frisbee all the way into the center. Now, it might not land in the center, but hopefully the offense manages to get it into the center. The downfield cutters, or receivers, will align themselves in a horizontal formation. And this is where the name comes from, is the horizontal formation that they're about to form. Okay, now that's going to look a little bit like this. We've got the wings over here who are going to stay relatively close to the sideline, and we're going to have the middle or popper people stay near each other, communicating in the center of the field. Then we're going to have the handlers come down in a simple 3-prong formation. Okay, in this example, we're going to have the center person with the Frisbee. Okay. Now, the way that this cutting strategy works is it's trying to optimize the number of cuts that the handlers will have for options. Okay, so the wings, they're going to take simple cutting strategies where they go up, not very far. Okay, it does not go very deep because you'll be entering into this handler's area, but just a little bit up, and also right down. Okay, this is one of the parts of these wings, is that they can go for deep cuts. They can try and score in the end zone if they want to. So that's going to be for both of these wing players. They've got this cutting strategy, these lanes. For the center people, or the poppers, they're going to try and do a bit of a diamond formation. Okay, so let's say Popper A says to Popper B, hey, I'm going under. Okay, so they'll communicate, I'm going to go under. So Popper A will go in an under strategy like this. Okay, they'll try and go under through the defense and try and get that Frisbee nice and close. Then if they don't get that Frisbee, they're going to then try and escape out the other way. All right. Whereas the person who is Popper B is going to say, no worries, I'll go deep. So they're going to go to the deeper side, okay, not too far, just about the same distance as Popper A, okay, and this person's going to try and get a deep throw down here, which might not work, okay. If that doesn't come off, they're going to try and go back into this situation where they cut back under and then act in the opposite, right? So that these two continuously rotate in this diamond formation, continuously going like this. That way, we should generally have one person always trying to enter in through the defense, which might and often is a puppy cup. I'll explain what a puppy cup is in a different video, but it's just a type of zone, okay? Simple zone. All right, so what about these handlers? What are these guys going to try and do? Well, the handlers, their here is basically dumps or relief points for the person. And let's say this person who's got the Frisbee gets to stall, 6, 7, or 8. What they're going to try and do is look at one of their handlers, okay? They'll look at them in the eyes, and when you get looked at in the eyes, you're basically activated as a handler, okay? This person wants to give off the Frisbee. So they've got a couple of options. They might try and, let's say they have a defender on them, nice and close. They're going to try and jink the defender and then come out over here or underneath, okay? So that leaves 2 different cutting patterns. You've got this relative cutting pattern like this, or okay, that was a bit weird, excuse me, or something above like this. Okay, so this person can come under or they can come above. Basically getting a short pass off by the handler, okay? Now, these handlers generally want to maintain a 3-prong order. So this player, once they've done that pass backwards, is going to then fill out that space where the other player was before, okay? So let's move that defender away, and they're going to basically come back into this area. All right, so that's the general cutting strategies that you're going to see from all the players in the offense, okay? You're going to have the 3 back, the 3 handlers, and you're going to have the middle horizontal setup. Now, the horizontal is only the start of the point. As they start cutting, it's not going to go into that formation yet. But as the point progresses and the Frisbee moves down the field, you'll continuously have these players who are the deep downfield receivers. They'll just shift down, but still be making the same cuts. So these guys will still do the diamond formation. They'll just be further downfield when they're making these diamond formation cuts. All right. So we're not going to worry too much about the defense here because with this offense, there's quite a few defenses that can occur. But we'll probably just stick with a man-on-man. But generally, you'll throw in a horo when there's a zone. so a zone might be a bit difficult to handle, so you'll throw on a horo, which gives you some more cutting options. As you can see, there's quite a lot. All right, now let's just move down to effort versus reward. All right, now this is the biggest talking point for me personally when it comes to the horo offense structure. What happens is that when you're in this situation, these three handlers are going to get a lot of the Frisbee. They're going to be constantly getting the Frisbee at the back. Maybe they'll do a quick short underneath pass here. And they'll just constantly keep passing it to each other like this, all the way downfield. And what generally happens is they won't throw it deep unless they might get a really deep option here, which is tempting. You get a quick end zone pass. Or rarely they'll pass, maybe a quick underneath here, rarely. But if they do a quick underneath here and the pass goes off here, you'll often find that the handlers start yelling to get the Frisbee back. So this person will feel peer pressure to give that Frisbee back to the handler and then continuously do the diamond cutting formation. All right. So it creates a bit of a social hierarchy in terms of how the game is played. These downfield options don't necessarily feel as important as the handlers because they're not getting to throw the Frisbee as much. That leads to the following effort versus reward graph. We've got the handlers here. They do very minimum effort because they're not running very much, but they're getting all the Frisbee. And you've got the cutters who are running a lot. Like these cutters, especially if you're on a wing, you are running up and down that wing just constantly. You're exhausted by the end of the point. And often you might not ever get the Frisbee on that point. Maybe you'll get it 1 in every 3 points you'll get to touch the Frisbee as a wing cutter, although you've worked your ass off. Okay, so this leaves this kind of situation. I don't really like this. I don't like the way that when you are assigned a role, you get to get as much Frisbee as you like without putting much effort in. I prefer much more when you play a bit of an organic structure, which I'll explain in my next video, that the effort versus reward chart looks much more like this, okay? I prefer when you put in a lot of effort, you get a lot of reward. And if you don't put in any effort, then you don't get any reward. You don't get to have the Frisbee. And unfortunately, this situation, although it creates a lot of cuts, it doesn't promote team transparency, equality, stuff like that. And I've seen many times, and I've felt it even myself, is that you get put on a horizontal team, you'll be made a downfield option, and the handlers will start to send the Frisbee deep a lot. They do a lot of deep throws, and those deep throws only come off very rarely, less than 50%, and you'll feel kind of like all the effort you put in to run up and down was not rewarded. It wasn't worth it, and you'll start questioning whether you really want to be on the team or not. And I don't like that idea that a person can question whether they want to be on the Frisbee team. I prefer that they knew that they had the opportunity to work hard, and that work would be rewarded with more throwing. So as a result, my rating for the horo, generally overall, it's not bad. I'll give it a, like a 5 out of 10. It's mid. Okay, it's not terrible, but also it doesn't promote team cohesion. It doesn't encourage a positive mindset from your teammates, and it generally will result in you having to form back into more of a linear vert stack formation just to keep your players happy.